MICT, NIDA, NCC, because all of them have been brought together toward a unified framework of intra-government agency partnership. Now, we also have in place Nigeria Internet Governance Process, because we cannot talk about cybersecurity readiness without talking about a governance mechanism. So I think we've spoken a lot about Nigeria Internet Governance Process. Then we also have a cross-sectorial security stakeholders engagement, which I mentioned earlier. Then we're also aware, or I don't know if we are aware, that NIDA has adopted Code 5, though there had contention concerning that, because what some stakeholders are saying is that, they are saying that government should not necessarily adopt a single standard, rather government should allow various standards to be in operation while government provides the rules of engagement and all that. Then, as of today too, Nigeria is a member of International Law Enforcement Corporation, where they now have the opportunity to share information in terms of intelligence gathering and best practices on engaging countermeasures. To look at the 3 documents, which has been posted on the website, I think it's on the first slide, www.sat.gov.ng. Please go in there, look at those documents, and look at area where you can provide intervention, partnership, cooperation, and all that. But the key success factor is still multi-stakeholder, because we emphasize that governments cannot do it alone.
Excellent. Big round of applause for sharing.
Every page representatives of the act. Maybe I shouldn't be complaining at the stage when it has been passed. Unfortunately, we were not. I'm not sure if we are deeply engaged in the process of enactment. The area I have my concern is that area you just mentioned, taxation. If you want the stakeholders' involvement in checkmating cybercrime, I don't think it is the same stakeholder that we are seeking their partnership that you punish through taxation. I mean, it simply does not make any sense to me.
Innovation fund now, they brought out of Nigeria. I can tell you that till now, they can't find where they will find the money out. And that's very critical for us, because I am laying the premise on the fact that this act we're talking about, cybercrime, actually came out of one of the resolutions of the NITDA or IT policy of 2001, which brought about the institutionalization of NITDA and advocated for the Cybercrime Act to be brought in place. So now that we have an act, I would want to suggest that the main issue should be the funding, like he said, but the main issue should be how we integrate this act into so many socioeconomic policies. And I mean that because when you throw it at us, I said, go to the SAT and look at the document. The truth of the matter is I know Nigerian, maybe for few people like him, that will go there.
First and foremost, on the issue of taxation, I'm aware that we are business, we are also stakeholder. When we were called to look at this law and all that, initially there was, we are so happy congratulating ourselves, but when we discovered that 1%, I said, we are going to have a big problem. And these guys are not just novice. The people we are going to engage are not novice. They are going to the knowledge industry and they will engage you. Where, do not think that because you have law, but where law contradicts constitutions, that is where you find yourself in the Supreme Court. So we are made to understand that, you cannot just go about operationalizing this law anyhow because you don't have a law. Because they are thinking from the law enforcement perspective. But we are thinking from the perspective of domestic response perspective. That everything about cybercrime is not about arresting. Number one. Number two, we are able to change the perception that the priority of engagement is not enforcement, it is cooperation. You may be looking at transition on a long time, but in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years, focus on cooperation, consultation, and advocacy. Just like what you have said, that if you train a child, you have to train the child up to the primary school, by then will have been fully aware before you start bringing issues of disciplinary measures and all that. So I think from the business group, we need to respond to this heart.
Next. Okay. So the presentation provides a brief overview of cyber law in Nigeria. Cyber law in its simplest form is synonymous with information and communication technology law, that is ICT law. So when we talk about AfICTA law, we can also refer to it as ICT law. Internet law, we can also call it internet law. Information technology and telecommunication law, that's another way you can look at it. Any other variant of the above, i.e. internet law and policy. By cyber law in this presentation, it includes laws, policies, regulations, and guidelines in the ICT and related field. The reason for this is that there are so many ICT-related laws and regulations and policies and guidelines that are passed by not just NIDA, by not just the Office of National Security Advisor, but we also have some by the Central Bank of Nigeria, Copyright Commission, and so many institutions that without a coherent strategy, it will be difficult for Nigerians, irrespective of their level, to know how all these laws interpret to bring about the development of not just the ICT core ICT industry itself, but any other ICT, any other industry that is ICT enabled. Next slide. Okay, it is right to say that cyber law is generally still at infancy in Nigeria in terms of its development. So the objectives of these short presentations are to show that cyber law issues is not related to business of ICT related laws alone, such as cyber law, digital electronic signature law, e-voting, electronic voting law, electronic evidence, and etc. To show that serious gap exists in the human development area with short, medium, and long-time impact on the development of the ICT and internet information society economy in Nigeria. Go to the next So all these things, I have articulated here with the view to see how in forums like this we can now know that we must be thinking about cyber laws. Many of them will be coming up. If, for example, now we want to do last election, we can see issue of use of smart card for election. Very soon now, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years or 3 election from now, we are going to be doing voting. Even software needs to be developed. It shouldn't be at that time that all of us, as a group or as a community or as a stakeholder, will now begin to get interested in them. So what I'm trying to say here is that to say that I'm not just articulating this thing for nothing. To make sure that we're in this direction, we are taking steps through our Similar Cyber Law Center. We have set it up to be able to deal with this issue. And in fact, within the next 3 months or so, we are going to be organizing the first Nigerian Cyber Law Forum to deal comprehensively with all of this issue you are talking about, this legal and how it forms the basis for actually preparing the ICT industry and all ICT-enabled industry for an information economy, for an economy, where it should book, social media, all those things. These are all issues because when we start implementing that cyber crime now, that's a crime being correct. If you also it doesn't know what it's doing. So when you're able to be talking about this advocacy, we have to take it step by step, developing all this framework to make sure. That's why you can see that in complement to what this kind of forum is doing now, which is dealing with the business aspect or some other aspect, the cyber law forum is going to be concentrated, where we will be picking different kinds of laws that have been passed, and we'll be able to know what these laws and all these things are all about and what they should be dealing with. So I just make a highlight to give it that the keynote address there will be delivered by Professor Yemi Ochibanjo, so that anybody or any one of us say you are invited, so that you can also come out to now see into details where we will look at legal analysis from.
Excellent. So that people can say this is a new industry indeed.